and Marana. Bickley and Marana Mornings. Arizona Sports. The local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
We are approaching the 2-year anniversary of Mat Ishbia in Phoenix, and safe to say it has been a wild and turbulent ride. And if you're feeling a bit whiplashed, a bit fatigued by the revolving door that will not stop spinning, you are not alone. Since trading for KD, the Suns have acquired 27 other players in search of the right mix. They've traded away 4 first-round picks, 5 first-round swaps, 8 second-round picks. Building a good team around KD and Book should not be this difficult. And for a fan base, it is very difficult to grow with a team that is constantly changing. And it's very hard to trust a regime that keeps throwing pieces against the wall, trying to shape a contender on the fly. Which brings us to Jimmy Butler. Not only do I hate the way he's expressed himself in Miami, I hate that the Suns are probably complicit, because if they weren't tempting Butler with the contract he so badly desires, he probably wouldn't be acting the fool in South Beach. Now that said, I still want Butler here, because at this point, it's our only real shot at immediate glory. But more than anything, after that, I would love some continuity, namely a chance to grow alongside a deep, talented roster of pieces that all fit together. All right, today's Bickley Blast brought to you by my great friends at Chapman BMW, who make luxury attainable. Find them online at chapmanbmw.com.
All right, my initial reaction to today's blast is a 2-word exclamation based on one fact that you just dropped.
What's that?
That 2-word exclamation is, holy crap! 27 players acquired in the last 2 years?
Tell me if I missed anybody. Kevin Durant on February 9th, 2023. Chimezie Metu, Yuta Watanabe, Keita Bates-Diop, Drew Eubanks, Tumani Kamara, Eric Gordon, Damian Lee, Josh Okogie, Saban Lee, Bol Bol, Udoka Azubuike, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, Yusuf Nurkic, Royce O'Neal, David Roddy, Thaddeus Young, Isaiah Thomas, Terrence Ross, Bradley Beal, Jordan Goodwin, Monte Morris, Mason Plumlee, Ryan Dunn, Oso, Tyus Jones, Frank Kaminsky for a minute. Does Frank Kaminsky qualify?
He was acquired. He's on the acquisition list.
So 28 total, 27 since KD. Now there have been other acquisitions, but they're G League stuff. And
the only one I'll correct you on was Damian Lee was here before Kevin Durant.
Okay, so let's make it 26.
26, but still, that's a holy crap number.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that is.
Which kind of leads me to the end of your blast. Cohesive pieces with longevity that fit together. Is that a pipe dream?
Well, yeah, if you acquire Jimmy Butler, it kind of is, because you're going to have to keep backfilling this thing. Yeah, no, you're right, because you don't have that many young players. It's an element to all of this. I think the Phoenix Suns are putting the pH in fatigue. And I think fans feel it. I think at this point, they just want the trade deadline to come and go and be done with this. Because even a game like last night, with all the hope that was generated in the first half of that game, the conversation always goes back to Jimmy Butler.
It does.
So, so the trade deadline is now, 10 days away, I think, something like that?
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, But I think that here's the interesting thing that I think I gleaned from Brian Windhorst's reporting last night was the fact that the price has come down significantly in Miami for Jimmy Butler makes me wonder, are they considering a rental? Are teams considering Jimmy Butler as a rental? Could they now be looking, okay, you know what? Let's just give them that. Let's take Jimmy Butler for a couple months, and then he can be on his merry way.
Yeah, and if it's not Phoenix, you certainly have to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jimmy Butler holds the player option for next year at $52 million. He's not, regardless of where he lands, unless he really hates it, Memphis, he's not going to opt out of that. Because the free agent market at this point, Jimmy Butler is playing hardball to get to Phoenix, but on the flip side of what he's doing right now, he's also turning other teams off.
Very much so.
To his services.
Very
because
much
of the way
so.
he's conducting himself. At least I think so.
No, I think you're right on the money about that. So it's a very dangerous game that he happens to be playing at this point in time.
Somebody's playing a dangerous game.
This summer. Yeah. So, right. So, and again, I'm conflicted by this because it's multi-tiered for me because I have always been a huge Jimmy Butler fan. Just everything about him, the toughness, the swag, the fact that day in Minnesota when he went in and lit up everybody with the bench players while wearing a Rolex. I had forgotten about that detail.
Yeah, that's a pretty big detail. Didn't even take his watch off.
Didn't even take his watch off.
Because you know what time it is.
Uh-huh. It's Jimmy Butler time.
But all right, let's zoom out on that.
All right.
Because I think what you said is true. And I've kind of been a Jimmy Butler fan, too. A guy that you respect the way he plays when he plays.
Mm-hmm.
But a guy that has been a malcontent pretty much everywhere he's been. So hold that up against another player that's got that reputation. And Kyrie Irving.
Okay.
What's the biggest difference? I mean, Kyrie Irving has not caused a ripple of anything in Dallas. Maybe he's seen the error of his ways. Is the fact that Jimmy Butler believes that the earth is round enough to give him a pass?
That's funny.
I mean, the
really
Kyrie
funny.
Irving situation, I know, got into some controversy with things that he, quote-unquote, endorsed. And he apologized for it, and he's made amends for it. And since that time, he's been pretty much a model citizen. But Kyrie Irving's still around the league. People will marvel at the talent level and say he might be the most talented player that's ever played the guard position, all said and done. But I don't think he's as widely respected still as Jimmy Butler is. And they both have numerous counts of being a malcontent on their resume.
That's a great question, or a great point you're making. I also think that say the Suns, and I don't know how they're going to get it done now because part of the reporting that came down last night was the idea that the Bulls want no part of Bradley Beal. So finding that team or that combination of teams is got to be very, very difficult.
And that Beal wouldn't waive his no-trade clause if he ends up in Chicago.
That's what I meant to throw out there, that Beal wouldn't go there. And you have to remind yourself that it all goes through him. And I don't blame him for not wanting to go play for that organization in Chicago.
I wouldn't want to play there either.
I wouldn't either. So I would really like there to be some continuity. You know what I mean? I respect the aggressiveness, right? But if the Suns were a rock band, Vinny, they'd be the Pretty Reckless. Sometimes pretty, sometimes reckless.
I like that. Here was Brian Windhorst doing some reporting last night with Scott Van Pelt on the Jimmy Butler front in Miami.
Well, the Heat really are trying to move him. I think there might be a perception out there because it seems like it's gone on for weeks that they're not, but they are. And from the sources I've been talking to for the last really 48 hours, but definitely tonight, the Heat's price has dropped. They are willing to do more than they were when this all started last month. The Heat are trying to get this done. The difficulty, Scott, is the one team that really, really wants Jimmy Butler and the team that he really, really wants to go to is the Phoenix Suns. And the Suns have basically the most untradeable contract in the league, not just because Bradley Beal has a no-trade clause, but because how much he's owed on that contract versus what his production is. And even if you could convince him to accept a trade to a certain place, it's a hard thing to do. And so you're really trying to squeeze not just drops of blood out of a stone, you're trying to squeeze a gallon of blood out of a stone. And these teams have been running their heads into it for weeks, and it's not helping what's going on the court and off the court with Jimmy and the Heat.
Yeah, and the Heat's price has dropped. Has their distaste for Bradley Beal's contract status dropped? Probably not.
No.
Brian Windhorst has followed that up this morning, appearing on ESPN and highlighting 4 teams now that Jimmy Butler's really zeroed in on. Phoenix, still one of them.
Okay.
Dallas, Houston, and Golden State. I don't think Golden State's going to be a factor because of their stance. And, Steph Curry's comments, I think, ring pretty true to what the organization must be feeling right now. You make a desperate trade right now to keep this alive and then leave the cupboard bare for the next iteration of the Golden State Warriors. They've got 4 championships to lean on. Dallas and Houston could get interesting. Houston especially. Although they just continue to get better and better and better. Individually and collectively get better.
I know. And then I take a look at why wouldn't he want to even go to Memphis in the short term? Could you imagine throwing him in that starting lineup, how good they might be?
Not an Elvis fan.
That makes 2 of us.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.